What's good with the people? It is Damo, the political plug. You tuned in to the Chop Up. I'm here with my best friend, my partner, Toya G. How you doing this evening, Latoya
I'm
Green?
well. We in the building. It's a Friday night. We switched it up, pushed it back a little bit. Well, we didn't push it back a lot of bit, but
A lot of
instead
it.
of our typical Thursday, we here on a Friday, just really making time and taking advantage of the chance and the opportunity to hang out with the family. So shout out to Chop Nation. We in here. What's good?
So of course, as we get closer and closer to election season, it's more conversations we gotta have about Kamala Harris and what's going on.
Emmanuel said they was wondering where our asses been. We've been wrapped up and tangled up and tied up, gang.
Hey,
The plug out here moving and grooving in real significant and meaningful ways. And then y'all know I teach and coach and do all this other type of stuff and
yeah.
got a business, this and that. So we just been fighting for dear life a little bit. That's it.
Nah, yeah, I'm gonna keep it a stack with y'all. Grad school been kicking my ass though, like just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's been just a little bit. It's been a cool experience. You know what I'm saying? But it's been keeping us busy. With family work, all of that. You know what I mean? So we living full lives out here these days. You
And
know what I mean?
hopefully y'all are too. That's why it's so special to us because we know y'all don't be out here playing no games. Y'all be moving and grooving, handling y'all business. So the fact that y'all be looking for us, anticipating us, pulling up on us, you know what I'm saying? We don't take it lightly because we know everybody out here living crazy lives. So shout out to the family. And really, y'all go ahead and do what y'all supposed to do in the comments, just like everybody is, and say what's up. Shout out to Tori J. Definitely happy we caught you and hope you want to participate in this conversation and tap in. Shout out to Tyler. What's good with you, family? It's always great to have you in the building. Shout out to Hood Therapy in the building as well. Just as great to just had a crew. You know what I'm saying? Hit them thumbs though. Y'all know what to do too. Go ahead and blow that up real fast as we get more people into this thing.
Yeah, so y'all keep saying what's up as y'all come on in, but we gonna go ahead and get into this conversation. We ain't gonna try to keep y'all too long because I know y'all probably heard enough of this dialogue, but
Mm-hmm.
we specifically
You got to jump in there real quick.
had to. I mean, because it hasn't died down. Like it's still kind of the
I mean, it
conversation,
ain't no die down until November 5th. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
right?
then when we get the results of November 5th, depending on what those are, it still ain't gonna be no die down. It's
Right.
gonna be bigger conversations about how
Right.
shit shake out. So this is one, especially, I mean, just for people who identify as both black and man. This is for you.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
no, I mean, but how it impacts us all though, like the interconnectedness of the decisions that we make, because social
absolutely.
media has created a lot of false divisions. You know what I'm saying, amongst black people, black men and black women, and everybody else that exists on that spectrum. And hey, we keep it inclusive for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so
Miss Ma'am said was good. Tyler said Obama told us to pull up our pants, which is what made me laugh. And Techie V, it's great to have you back in the mix, family.
yeah.
What's popping?
So before we even start talking about Obama though, this whole conversation about black men and voting has been a big deal since like what 2022 midterms. It was
Mm-hmm.
a conversation that somehow uniquely got centered around Stacey Abrams. I think there was some comments that were made about black men in Georgia and whether or not she had the type of support that she should have with black men, given
Mm-hmm.
that we all supposed to be in this together and everything else. Which I still, even at that time, I was kind of aggravated by because I felt like it wasn't real. You know what I'm saying? Like black men, in that election, voted for Stacey Abrams at an overwhelming, you know what I'm saying, at a rate like the overwhelming majority of black men voted for Stacey Abrams. Even though it was like higher black male Republican vote than usual, they still overwhelmingly voted for Stacey Abrams. So to me, that was like that's a crazy conversation that y'all having in the first place. Now we fast forward to 2024, and it's somehow still a thing. Somehow still a thing. There is a concerted effort around somehow centering Democratic elections around black people.
Mm-hmm.
It happened with Hillary Clinton. Then it turned around. Now it's specifically happened amongst black men. And so they keep hyping up this dialogue. They keep hyping up this conversation. And then the question that I have for y'all and that I hope to engage in with you tonight, Toya, is why is that? Why is it such an exaggerated criticism and blame that's placed at the feet in this instance at black men, when it's like, yeah, like when you look at the numbers, like black men overwhelmingly support like what the rest of black people do. So where does that come from? Like the desire to point the finger at black men, and like when that don't seem to really be the case.
I think, and this is just my own kind of observation and speculation, especially in this time around. I can't really say that this was necessarily the case with Georgia because I'm not a Georgia, resident, so I don't really know maybe some of the more internal conversations. But I feel like maybe this time around, black men, and I know this is not accusatory or like blaming, but I feel like black men have been a loud minority in unique ways this time that they haven't been before. And so I feel like it's kind of the same. It's two sides of the same coin in a way, because I feel like historically black men have kind of been yanked by the chain, because of the narrative of them being MIA, because of the narrative of them taking kind of some of these conversations lightly, because of them taking, kindness for weakness, and, taking a lot of things for granted. It's been like, where y'all at? You missing any other time. If you look in this classroom, it's more black women than black men. If you look in the church house, it's more black women than black men. If you look on the political landscape, now we starting to see that they're showing up more. Like, where y'all at when it comes to activism and shit on the streets? You know what I'm saying? It seems to be y'all missing. And so that narrative, has had black men called to the carpet and had, their feet held to the fire. Now I think this time black men have been more audacious and more demanding of something specific. They've been like, everybody else is calling for something, wanting for something. They've been like, it's all about money. We ain't falling into these whole politics no more. I think the timing is bad, right? Because we've seen identity politics in very big ways fail us. And so they're being able to use a black woman as a great opportunity to say, ain't no skin folk, kinfolk, ain't no just because you black, you about me. I'm about some other shit that I want to think about. So they've been a loud minority, which then is kind of putting them in a position to be criticized. So like I said, two sides of the same coin. On one side, their absence has been felt. The narrative of their absence has been felt. I want to be careful with how I talk about black men versus the narrative versus the reality. But then on the other side, you have a world where their dissent has been loud. You know what I'm saying? Their proclamations about being for Trump have been loud. They've been audacious. They've been in your face, been very declarative. You know what I'm saying? So in the face of that, it's just like, y'all ain't ever acted like this before. Now y'all finna turn up for this nigga? Like, what's going on here? And it doesn't, I think it also, and this is the last thing I say, I think it pricks people the wrong way, that the misogyny and the, you know what I'm saying, apathy for women and the lack of, like, this is who you really want to get loud about, and you know what I'm saying, say is that guy. And it's like, it just really complicates what I think black men and their narrative is trying to get away from, which is all of these problematic relationships with women, the inability to, create space for equity, the toxic masculinities that exist. Like, it all just gets wrapped up in the person that they fanboying. And like I said, it's a minority.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think that's the most important part of what you said, is it's a loud minority. It's like, yeah, is it niggas that's caught up in that? Yeah, but I feel like to me it's a part of the pathologization that black people got to deal with anyway. Like it's like every nigga that's anti-Democrat becomes a Trump supporter. You feel me? It was one thing that I came to recognize, like, after, because I made it a habit to be like, all right, I'm a advocate for Joe Biden, but once he get elected, I'm on his ass. You know what I'm saying? And I'm on record the day after he got elected, you know what I'm saying, like, on my platform, cooking his ass. So and what became crazy, and one of the weirdest experiences I had, especially with knowing Lee, is I'm cooking Joe Biden, kind of talking about like how a lot of, it was, I don't know, I forget what policy bullshit he was on, where I was cooking him in the on TikTok, and some chick hopped in the chat on some, or hopped in my comments on some, see, this is what's wrong with black men. Like, y'all are always the one that's trying to be different. Y'all are always trying to go against the grain. And you need to be more like Conscious Lee or some other type shit like that. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, bitch, I'm not no Trump supporter. Like, what is you talking about? Like, I can't. I have to be able to have a criticism of the liberal plantation without immediately get tossed into the other plantation. And what ends up happening is black men end up, like, kind of for misogyny that's much better represented, you know what I'm saying, and how the Republican Party operate. You feel me? I mean, even in a lot of ways in the Democratic Party too. Like let's not even act like, like it's a big difference between the two. You feel me? Like they find these scapegoats, and in this instance, black men have become a scapegoat for a lot of liberal angst. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think is it some shit that we got to work through? Like, of course, but at the same time, It's a reason why people like Kevin Samuels can easily get painted as like the new voice of black men when it's much more reasonable niggas out here that's not on that type of shit. But it's like that is okay. That's the message. That's what niggas is coming with. And so now we got to find some type of way when we have all of these conversations to position black men as the Kevin Samuels, as the red pill type shit.
This is one of those situations, and we're gonna get to the Obama like angle on this in a minute, but it's just like where we do have to beg the question, like, talk to you, call in, you know what I'm saying? Have a call in conversation with more black men, because the way that the loud minority is able to beat their chest, like one of the things I saw this tweet that was very interesting, and which is why it can't be understated, that the reason, like, you kind of put a target on your back. You said, come holler at me, come talk to me. I'm bringing the shit to your doorstep, bring the shit to my doorstep. And so I feel, you know, and I'm sympathetic to the idea that black men are being singled out and targeted out. But at the same time, it's like, these are the conversations you want to have. This is the road you want to go down. And so if people are willing to say, while you sitting there, hold that mirror up real quick, that has to be, you know, fair par for the course because of what you decided to engage. I had seen a tweet, and I wish my phone is charging over on the other side of the room, but it said something to the effect of, for black women to be the most reliable voting base for Democrats, it is not beyond me to see that black men have whined and complained and centered themselves so much that instead of creating a plan or creating, you know, gestures toward or having meaningful conversations about the committed, right, and putting their interests first and putting the needs and desires of black women first, because they're the ones who always show up, that completely got jumped over so that we can attend to the needs, to the perspectives, and to the feelings of black men. So in a lot of ways, the discussion has been shifted, turned, and pointed. The mic has been given to individuals who said they want to talk about it. And so I'm kind of sympathetic to that in a world where black women reliably show up for the Democratic Party, but there's no plan for black women. There's no direct response to black women. There's no conversation. There's the expectation that black women are going to show up how they're supposed to. So, I mean, this isn't a grander scheme of framing and discussions and outreach and how campaigns are set up. But when we're talking about people who are holding campaigns back, I'm willing to say that because black men invited it, they deserve some of that spotlight. And because white women keep getting away with it quietly, they asses need to be brought in too, right?
But I think that spotlight. In that instance, in the question of the impact on elections, I don't think black men deserve that spotlight. Like I think it's conversations
they
that
don't, but they add like I don't like. I think I think I want you to respond to that because they don't want the spotlight. I'm not saying that black men desire the spotlight or that they want to be the talk of the town or the context in the you know every conversation. We're not talking about Asian men. We're not talking about Latin men. We're not talking about Asian men. I get that, but I want you to converge that with the idea that this is the black men have said, y'all don't give a fuck about us. Ain't nobody thinking about us. How many times have we heard black men and black people say, you know, they have plans for Asians in America. They have plans for immigration. They ain't talking to us. Like they've made demands. Demands have been made. Look at us, see us, acknowledge us, appreciate us. Right. And in that, they've been like, here's a mirror real quick. Like, I'm with you. You got my attention. Ice Cube, you open the door. We're walking through this time. We're not going to miss y'all this time. You said, where you at? We here. But while we're here, take a look at what niggas is running around and saying, like, on social media. You yelled up and down that them is the niggas that's not voting. Them is the niggas that's not voting.
They not.
You told me before the show started, but you just told me before the show started that it's places seeing peculiar numbers and turnout and pop out.
But niggas no, it's not. It's not. Them is still not the niggas that's not gonna vote. But them niggas ain't go from not voting to early voting to you. That's not happening.
I want you to respond to what I have framed as the desired attention and black men getting what they have asked for, and whether or not that coheres and aligns itself with what you're saying in terms of, or how.
No, I don't. But I don't think
black men didn't want that attention because they did. Is my position.
No, I don't. I think the type of attention that black men demanded and then the type of attention that they got is not the same. And I think the reason why they got the type of attention that they got is they was easy. Is niggas just become easy targets, and it's like it's easier to frame it around a problem of the black male misogyny as opposed to like recognizing a legitimate criticism that exists. Like this is kind of what Nina Turner was talking about. It's like there is a legitimate conversation about what's wrong with Kamala Harris. A legitimate conversation about what's wrong with Kamala Harris. And I think it's a distinction between like how we like who we're criticizing, because I think all black men who have a criticism of Kamala Harris get grouped into either misogyny or Trump supporters, which isn't necessarily true. You feel me? Like it's some niggas that's just like, I'm not fucking with it. And and that gets completely washed out for the low hanging fruit.
But yeah, I mean, I think, and this is something we talked about before the show, because there's a difference in between the two niggas that you're talking about. There are some niggas that's like, I'm not fucking with it. And those niggas who are like, I'm not fucking with none of this, we can respect them. We can have space for them. We can understand those perspectives. It's like, I'm not voting for nobody. We are talking about the niggas that's like, I'm not fucking with this. I'm voting for him. There's an inexplicable part of it, because cool, you're not rocking with Kamala. You agree with her policies. You don't think she got nothing by nothing. She not qualified. She not ready yet. Cool. You can come up with shit and back it up. And you reserve the right to hold those opinions. Right. But why him? That is the part of the calculation and the triangulation that I think gets black men the criticism they get, is that you so audacious about that, not voting for her, but you are like, I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah.
The rest of that stops making sense.
Okay,
and that's when you draw attention to yourself, and that's when the spotlight comes on, and that's when you get lines to misogyny, and that's when we start to wonder what your politics and what you really support, because it can't be the policies, because he can't talk coherently about them. So what is it that you love about him so much? That's where we get confused, and that's why we start talking crazy to you.
But that's what I'm saying. But we don't say Trump supporting black men. It's black men. Because I think if we look at the day, hold up,
that's splitting hairs. That's
splitting hairs.
That's difference without
that's splitting hairs.
That's splitting hairs. That's difference without distinction.
No, black men.
Black men.
Okay, so what about niggas who vote for Jill?
And it's completely erasing just how hard black men have been going for Trump. Like, I get it. You trying to like.
It's not that hard. They just loud. It's not that hard. Okay. Like for example. Let's take a look at some of the data. Because I think that this is where, because again, a part of the conversation we was having previously is it is a, like you said, it is a minority of niggas that get the claim of being the thought of black men. Because if we're being serious, if we look at the data, if we look at the chart here, Kamala Harris, while both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris underperformed favorability as opposed to Barack Obama. But at the same time, it's like that was the first black president, or first nigga who could be president actually became president. Like, of course, that's like, you know, ain't nobody gonna top that. If we look at the favorability for Kamala now, it's at 75% over black people at total. And then when you look at Kamala Harris compared to Donald Trump with black men, it's 20% at most in the polls. That's the highest is 20%. That still means 80% of black men support Kamala Harris. So is it a black men thing? You know what I'm saying? To go against Kamala, is it black men that are going against Kamala, or is it a minority of niggas who then got caught up in the patriarchal white nationalist rhetoric that somehow they see themselves fit within? I think that majority, that minority deserves to be called out.
This is quantitative data, and we would need qualitative data in order to understand kind of the perspective, the mindset of these voters and why they're dissenting and why they're not. I still think, though, part of the conversation, if the question that you're asking is why are we calling niggas out, why are we having these conversations with them, it's because of an unfortunate long history and legacy of men, black men in particular, seemingly making bad decisions in the face of their counterparts, their racial counterparts, and us not having historically solid answers for why. Right? It's not completely unfounded. Right? I think as much as we don't want to over narrate or buy into narratives of niggas being missing, being absent, being et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if we're going to have discussions, real honest discussions, right? About, so for example, right? We're going to talk about her plans later, but some black men were mad that shit like child support wasn't included. So do we get to talk about absence of fathers and why it is that their priorities and shit are like child support in terms of being federally regulated? Or are we going to be honest about the fact that sometimes niggas don't always be around? Like, this is a narrative that exists. Yeah. That has textures and layers to it. But I'm saying, if we got to hold them in tension, we're going to hold them in tension. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say this, and then I'm gonna slide it back to you. There, unfortunately, has been an intra-communal, ain't got to do with nobody else, an intra-communal, consistent dialogue about the way that Black men show up in our communities. It has been in the face of shit, because everybody had a criticism for Black Lives Matter, and some of them are valid, but a lot of them was like, where are the Black men building coalitions to really create a generation of activists who are gonna stand up to the police and do shit like that? We show up and mourn for y'all, we cry for y'all, this, that, and the other. It doesn't seem to be the same in return. Like, these are conversations we're having with us. So it's not completely ludicrous to look at the 20% of Black men, or whatever the number is, who seem to be missing and being like, are you on that bullshit again?
Yeah, but the problem is that 20. But the problem is that 20% get painted as Black men, like red pill niggas, like the niggas that's gonna complain about child support. Most niggas not complaining about child support.
I think the problem it is, and I can grant you that and still argue that I think the real problem is we be having intercommunal conversations out loud and in the public, and they get distorted and twisted and turned up, and we don't get a good opportunity to come to the bottom line about how shit's really moving. So we're experiencing our pain out loud. It is then being partitioned and separated by poll numbers and bifurcated and trying to be explained through a bunch of different theories that may or may not be true from one moment to the next. But it's a great example of how Black people got some healing to do within themselves. Because if your argument and position is that these discussions are invalid and that's not even really most Black men and this, then it's some healing that needs to be done. We haven't received our love letter yet. We haven't received the assurance that it's not no weird shit and that you're thinking independently and that this is not a pattern of behavior. Like, we just don't have that yet. And so I think it's a shame that a lot of the distrust, a lot of the skepticism, a lot of the lack of space for independent thought and credibility for that gets wrapped up and tangled up with a whole bunch of shit that we still haven't figured out and still need to work through. And that's what I feel like a lot of this is. It's a whole lot of Black women who are hurt by the legacy and the instance. And y'all showed up in droves for the Black man. It's very cut and dry. Nigga ran, niggas got songs. My president is Black and my Lambo is blue and you and this and that. And this Black woman's running and it's quiet. Or I won't say it's quiet. I will say that just your silence is deafening. So right? You've heard that before. It's not even that it's completely quiet. It's that your silence is deafening. And that's what's fucking women up. Y'all shut up over here. Why I can't be over here? Why is it not a one-to-one relationship? Why y'all got so many questions all of a sudden?
So what about the 16% of Black women that fuck with Trump?
What's your question about them?
In the context of
they dumb too. Like I disparage.
Yeah, but I mean, fuck right? But
they're a part of the problem. Like, I don't understand.
I'm talking about in the context of, like, you wouldn't frame Black women around that 16%.
What you mean? Like, there are 16% of women who are voting for Trump, and I wouldn't blame Black women for that whole 16%.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a conversation. It wouldn't be a conversation that you would say that we need to have with Black women, because 16% of
I do think we need to have a conversation with whatever percent of that 16% of Black. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Go on record. My name is Toya Green, and I approve this message. These Black women are out of their fucking minds. Dare I say, because of the complicated relationship that Trump has with women, they're more perplexing than the Black men. I'm sorry, they haven't been a loud minority. They have not been. I have not seen Black women for like, it just is not.
No. They haven't been as loud. You're right. They haven't been as loud. You're right. But I think there's also.
I don't know what comes after that. Plug that's the point.
That is the point. Tell you that. I mean, okay. So let's do this, right? And to respond to Miss Ma'am, because Miss Ma'am is going in the chat. She said Trump supporting Black men are already lost in the sauce. It is the perceived undecided Black men. And then she said, but that is how Black people, male and female, are painted. When one group acts one way, that perspective is painted across all of us. And then she asked, is this a whataboutism? And I think in this instance, I'm asking, this is a whataboutism, but I'm asking in the context of understanding the logic behind playing into the pathology, right? And that's why I want to be clear about why it's so important for us to separate how in the instance of this conversation, in the instance of this election, and how we have this election dialogue. Because is it conversations about like where Black men need to be better? I think those conversations exist for sure. We have those conversations on the chop up. But at the same time, I think when there are valid criticisms of Kamala Harris, even though as much as we're like, we don't fuck with Donald Trump, There are valid criticisms of Kamala Harris, and so this is why we need to be specific of the criticism. This is why we need to be specific of the criticism. We can listen to Barack Obama and hear what Barack Obama had to say, because then I have a question for you. You know what I'm saying? Given, where you stand with things.
Sure.
Let's let's listen to Barry really quickly. Shout out to everybody that pulled up. If you just pulled up, make sure you say what's up in the chat. We appreciate Miss Mammon and everybody from getting it in. Let's get this pulled up here, and let's hold on. Let me make sure.
Communities.
Shout out to y'all in the chat. Shout out to y'all throwing up thumbs real quick. If y'all are enjoying the discussion, we love it. Also, too, here's one of my favorite things. I don't even want you to put a caption. I ain't even asking for all of that. But that little share button that's somewhere on your screen, hit that mug and then choose whatever social media platform you want to choose and just push share. I'm asking you, like, please, from the bottom of my heart, just share the show. See if somebody's interested in the title of it, and either they'll jump in here and watch it in real time with us right now, or they'll see it on your timeline and watch the run back of it later. So go ahead and do that for me if you would, just as a little Friday night gift to the kid. Just share it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you already hit that thumb, that's the next step.
All right, so here it goes. Let's hear what Barry had to say about the shit. The first black president.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
This nigga with the brothers.
So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to...
That's his brothers. Don't do him like that.
No, go ahead.
And
the brothers.
That when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands
that wasn't part of your growing up.
And pain and joy that comes from those experiences. He's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm sorry.
Cut him off because you mad.
No. That was it. Now, he was talking hella slow. No, it's cool. Because you're going to have to stand on this. I like how.
Keep going.
So essentially,
what's up to Marcel? What's up to Asar? I want to say what's up to everybody in the chat, throwing thumbs up and everything like that. We love y'all. Keep going.
So essentially, Barack Obama's like, support for me was crazy, and we're not seeing that same support from the brothers. And she grew up like you, and this is where I'm just like, let's stop this. And I got a response to that. Response to that. Okay, so
let's stop this. She grew up in Canada. He grew up with white people. His dad is African.
Well,
no. His dad, her dad is Jamaican. And whatever. But I think it's a fine line. And I'm about to say this shit and get this shit off because the shit is boring and whack and tired. These people did not know they was finna be the fucking president. And in times of their life when they didn't know they was finna be the president or accused of pandering or relying on parts of their identity to get ahead, they chose niggas. So where is the credit for motherfuckers who had a choice? They had complexions for protection. They had an upbringing that did not force them to choose niggas. They didn't have to choose. Like, I'm sorry, there has to be space for mixed children who chose niggas.
Listen, hold on.
There has to be space.
It's mixed niggas. Okay.
Let me finish my thought. That's all I want. You got it.
Go ahead.
I just don't think it's fair that at a time where niggas have chose niggas before, in the past, before they knew they was going to be president, that it's completely off the table for them to lean into and have the context to rely on of those times when they chose niggas before they knew that was gonna be conveniently useful for them now. I'm just saying, like, nobody's living a that so raven fucking life. These people have lived their lives leaning into parts of their identity that were denied to them because they didn't have an influence on how the fuck they grew up or where they was at. Nobody said, "Mom, let's move to Canada." She got her ass took up to Canada. Okay. And when she came back, she built relationships in Oakland. She went to black ass churches. She did black ass shit in her. Like, I just don't know what niggas be wanting for people who can't control everything. She went to fucking Howard.
Okay, and that's cool, and all of that is great. You chose black, but listen to what you. But think about the framing of that. Chose black. That's already outside of how we grew up. We didn't choose black. We didn't have a choice. We was in a. No, Toya, we did. Listen, it would be more detrimental for us to be anti-black coming up where we was. We both grew up in the same hood. It was black. It wasn't no choose black. You already speaking to a privilege that we've never had access to. So it's cool. You can be.
I just don't understand. These are non sequiturs.
But it's not non sequitur because that's not like us. I mean, not even to be on the Kendrick shit. That was not purpose. Like, I was not trying to be. but when you say grew up like you, no, we didn't grow up choosing black. We have that relationality. And I'm not even trying to take the blackness away from her. I don't even think that.
Hold on, because we had a whole episode where we said she was black. So this is really fucking weird to me right now. I'm not gonna lie, it's blowing my mind.
Every nigga blackness, like a nigga that grew up in the Hamptons and a nigga that grew up in Jackson County, that blackness don't look the same. We even make that. Not. Yes, exactly. We make the distinction
because we're not a monolith. Like, why are you undermining
the
same shit that we've come on this show and used to frame?
No, Toya, but that's what I'm saying though. When we all of that, we not a monolith shit. Yes, I get that. But when we're having politicians talk to us, when they and they're trying to create this relationality, that there's already a huge distinction, a huge difference in how they was raised and how we was raised. Niggas raise their eyebrows. Niggas raise their eyebrows. Toya.
Sure. And I'm telling, and we amongst ourselves are like, put your eyebrows back down. It's not as fucking weird as you're trying to make it. Let's critically think. Let's explore nuance. Let's lean in, which is why I'm struggling with you right now, because we can do that at other times, but it's like the amnesia that's kicking in right now that's forcing you to think very surface level and one-to-one relationship about everything.
I don't.
So confusing.
So this is where I said, this is where I'm saying these distinctions need to be made. As a nigga, I'm a vote shamer. Not only am I a vote shamer, I am a vote elitist. I don't think everybody should be voting. I don't. I think a misinformed ballot is a dangerous ballot, regardless of who is cast for it. And so as much as I am gung-ho, anybody but Trump type shit, I'm not nowhere near close to vote blue no matter who. Like, and we, cause as much as you talking about me, shit, you know, Toya, you ain't fuck with Kamala Harris like that. Like, a lot of us didn't. A lot of niggas. I was actually defending Kamala Harris to niggas that was just like, nah, she was the police back in 2020. And so now here we are, and it's like and it's niggas that still have that same criticism, that still got that same energy, and now niggas is looking at them niggas like, well, nah, you can't be like that. Nigga, most of us was like that. That's how we ended up with Biden.
Most of us was like that. Most of us was like that. One, out of outrage and frustration over police writ large. She wasn't in patrol cars, and I get it. Jobs are different, but let's be fucking honest about the way that prosecutorial offices work, the way that those politics work. They're not the same as riding around in a cruiser and pulling up behind somebody and racially profiling them. It's just not the fucking same. Number one. Number two, we were working off of misinformation and disinformation, dare I say, that painted the textures of what she did and animated her criminal justice career in ways that we know now were not completely accurate. Number three, I completely abhor the narrative around Black people that we don't like the police. Before chattel slavery, before modern policing, before we saw the abuses of that system, we saw an African.
Well,
policy. So I'm not going to assuage her from any of that shit. But we do have to be particular and talk nuance and specifics about how she carried out policing, the things she has to be accountable for, the shit that comes along with the job, the same way we talk about how no matter who's going to be president, they all going to be fascist, they all going to kill somebody, they all going to be invested in capitalism, they all going to be settler colonial. That shit comes with the conversation. It's the baby and the bathwater. But when we are talking about her now, there's a new refined level of understanding. There's a deeper political kind of apparatus within us and the ability. We're constantly growing as political minds, as individuals who are thinking and speaking in contemporary times. And so, yes, I've said all this to say, yeah, I was on our ass. Wasn't a fan. Wasn't fucking with it. Wasn't buying it. People change. Things change. Your orientation towards your personal politics change. I changed.
No, I mean, I think while I think priorities, while I do think priorities did change, right? I also think that we have to recognize that the criticism that we levy to Joe Biden, it still remains. The faces, and this is coming from somebody who's like, representational politics ain't enough. So yeah, the face changed, the skin color has changed, the hair done changed in a lot of big ways, but policy has not. And so to go from understanding why somebody wouldn't want Joe Biden in an office to now it's like, well, your criticism somehow got to be wrapped in misogyny, because the criticism of what I'm gonna get out of this remain the same because it's a woman. It's like that, like nah, like that's where it starts to it like literally. This is why I say liberals are cannibalistic. That's when we start finding play instead of recognizing. And again, this isn't to say that there aren't conversations of misogyny amongst and whether in political circles or in social circles, whatever, amongst black people. Like, yeah, those conversations exist. And that's not to say that there are some niggas who are solely not voting for Kamala because they can't see a woman in office. Which was also true with niggas with Hillary Clinton. When we hear the conversation about Kamala and her being her not being able to keep up with world leaders and how they have their way with her and all that type, that's all. Every conversation about her ability to interact with Putin is misogynist. Straight up, like that. I'll say that for sure. But when there's but when it's niggas that's like, for example, that it's like it's no way in hell I can fuck with Kamala even on any of that other shit, but I'm willing to vote for Jill Stein. Is like then what's clearly the issue?
Then what's the problem?
You know what I'm saying? Like
I get it. We 37 minutes in, so I'm gonna make sure.
Okay. Yeah.
We're constantly moving things the right way. I do want to highlight some of the conversations in the chat because folks have been tapping in and kind of chiming in. And one of the things that Tucky V said in agreements with you is I'm even being able to choose is a whole privilege. But Miss Ma'am is articulating my perspective, I think, very accurately. I think Choose Black touches on her leaning into Black culture rather than denouncing it like a lot of privileged people, Black people do. Privileged Black people have the opportunity to show that they're not like them. They have the opportunity to say, I want to crunch these numbers and figure out if I cozy up to this, what financial, what social, what networking benefits, in what ways can I benefit from nepotism, just by being at the hem of this white person's garment. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times that relationship is the salvation for them. And for them to choose to opt out of that, to problematize those same relationships, to cause fucking hell potentially. I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but and a lot of people are like, she's married to a white man. Are we really going to get into that? Like, are we about to do somebody like that? Is a weird fucking conversation to have, because then we got to start talking about a whole lot of our faves and what goes on in terms of the people they have sex with. So, I mean, I don't know. My whole kind of position is simply when people have the opportunity to opt out of the shit that oppresses them, and they legitimately have access to that shit. So not like some what was Shorty from the NAACP who was not a nigga but chose to be a nigga. Yeah, I'm not talking about Rachel Dolezal because she had no connection to the real authentic experiences of Blackness. But I'm talking about somebody who actually has a connection, has an option in another direction, a couple different directions, to align and cozy up the whiteness, to be a completely Indian woman. She had options. She chose to be a nigga and an Indian woman because the shit is just true. But we got to be honest about how it's presenting itself, not just how it feels and the discomfort we have about the way this shit sound on paper. It's more than that.
Yeah. I mean, and we could this conversation could keep going, but I do think there have been some very important developments in the Kamala Harris and Black man conversation. specifically the introduction of her was the economic plan for Black opportunity. It was pretty much her agenda for Black men. Let's take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So shout out to Bakari Sellers. Said today, Kamala Harris released an agenda for Black men. We talked about having candidates listen to
I
our
can't
needs.
see it real quick, by the way, just in case.
Oh yeah, let me get it pulled up for you. Yeah, get you on the right screen. All right.
Yeah.
So today, Kamala Harris released her agenda for Black men. We've been talking about having candidates listen to our needs and concerns, and she has. Let's see. 1, providing 1 million loans that are fully forgivable to Black entrepreneurs and others to start a business. All right, Black male business loans. I can see that being sued by Republicans for being against the 14th Amendment. Champion, and that's not even a fault of hers. That's just a thought that I had when I think about these Black grants now. Second, championing education, training, and mentorship programs to help Black men to get good paying jobs in high demand industries and lead their communities, including pathways to become teachers. Just like what you was just saying, Toya, in terms of like, in certain spaces that you look in and where you see more Black women than you see Black men. So teaching is one of those jobs where they say they need more Black men. And I think what's unique about number 2 is addressing the conversation that we hear with immigration. Because it's always about the job competition that exists, and all of those jobs that they talking about they competing on are low skill, low wage labor jobs. So they trying to get niggas good jobs. Third, supporting the regulatory framework for cryptocurrency and other digital assets so Black men who invest in and own these assets are protected. I think that's I don't know how is that unique to Black men, but I okay, it's forward thinking. And then and then 4, launching a national health equity initiative focused on Black men that addresses sickle cell disease, diabetes, mental health, prostate cancer, and other health challenges that disproportionately impact them. So these are concepts of initiatives that
go to 5. Don't forget 5.
Oh, right. That's the big one. Mm-hmm. Legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for Black Americans to succeed in this new industry. When we vote, we win. Mm-hmm. All right. So, what are your thoughts, Toya?
My thoughts are that Black people have not developed an agenda for themselves, for us. We have not agreed on what we want to prioritize and demand. That puts us in a position, Black people and Black men or Black women or whomever, to take what the system has determined you need to listen to certain focus groups, to listen to certain individuals, and to respond and shape things in response to it. I think that a lot of people have been critical of these institutions, of these administrations, and how they respond. And a lot of people, like I mentioned before, like immigration has a bill, they have specific stuff for them, and this all works and it's specific gestures toward Black people. It is responsive to what people have said that they wanted. Now, one of the criticisms, so I don't have a personal criticism of it. I think it's awesome. I think in a world where they started with a fresh palette and a blank slate, that this is something, especially my favorite ones are 4 and 5. That I really are like super helpful. Like I think are super helpful. And 3. I'm sorry, 2, 4, and 5. I think pathways to employment, good paying jobs, and ones where you don't see Black men, awesome. I think health initiatives that focus on the health issues, because we keep talking about how all of our legends are gone too soon. All of our young people are gone too soon. We just lost, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we lose artists and rappers and people who contribute to our culture all the time. Here it is. And then of course to regulate and to restabilize to establish some stability in what marijuana usage and profitability looks like in this country, right? A chance for people to have a legal approach as well, while we see the legal use expand, to get into that market and to play some of that game. I think that shit is amazing. Now, one of the criticisms I saw or that I was seeing was like that these programs are worded in a certain way, but with the text of the bills and the legislation are going to be accessible to everybody. And this is like, people are like, so this ain't really for black men. Everybody's gonna be able to benefit from this shit. Everybody's gonna be, yes, this is the
Everybody
United
could
States of
benefit from
America.
everything. Yeah, it's so stupid.
But again, just like Barack Obama cannot be black people's president, she cannot be black people's president. So these initiatives are gestured toward specifically black people, but they will apply to everybody. Instead, when we look at and evaluate these presidencies, it's gonna be about how they alleviated the oppression for black people in a world where they cannot create policies directly applying to black people's lives. It's gonna be about shit like Obamacare. And can you do the math? Can you see how the existence of that make black people's lives easier? Black people uniquely deal with diabetes, hypertension, blood pressure issues. Do you see how Joe Biden making insulin lower means that there were gestures toward black people that we could, like, it's just about doing the math. And if we're patient enough to do that, then we can find some solace. I'm not saying excitement, but solace in the gestures being made toward our specific community. So to answer the question, I don't see no problem with it. And I think it's weird the people who do.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong?
Yeah, I don't necessarily see a problem with it. I mean, I think at this point we're at a place where it doesn't matter what the candidate does. I mean, I ain't even gonna say the candidate. Let me not even act like it doesn't matter what Kamala Harris does. Mm-hmm. She could. I mean, if she does anything less than something that would literally torpedo her election, you know what I'm saying? She would have to do something that would cause her to lose for niggas that like her. Straight up, it would have to be like, because as much as we had these conversations, it's like trying to stand on reparations. That's not gonna help you. You're not gonna win. You know what I'm saying? Like as much as I'm with reparations, like for sure, that's something you're not gonna win an election on reparations. No matter, you can get 100% of the black vote, you're not gonna win an election on reparations. And so it's so like niggas literally have like these institution changing type demands that they making on the institution for somebody that's trying to occupy that particular role in the institution. It doesn't necessarily work like that. So you know, as I look at these, I do, and this is where it's like, okay, I have to be even keel. I have to be balanced. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of neoliberalism in this. And that's keeping it a stack. Like even like the providing 1 million loans that are forgivable. That I think that language is funny because it's like why ain't it just grants? If we giving out forgivable loans, why isn't it just grants? But I don't want to pick it apart from the standpoint of it's still better than let me just admit that, because you know niggas is like, but what about the other side? It's way better than what's happening on the other side. Way better. Like, I mean, I there's even a level of appreciation, but I'm like, if we're thinking about it from understanding who we working with, this is the best we can get from Democrats.
Yes. Like, and this is why it's so important, you know, like politics can't be your only hustle. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You can't build a life that's dependent and contingent on decisions that people in political positions have on, like, your bottom line or how much you make. You know what I'm saying? Because there's just too many heads. It's too many heads. It's kind of like when you got one bottle and everybody trying to take it. It's too many heads. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you think about how the cookie's gonna crumble for you in terms of these like economic or decisions or maneuver, you gotta also be thinking about what can I do for myself to sweeten the pot to make sure I have financial security, because this is one of many pathways you need to build the lifestyle that you want. The paralances of capitalism are not going to allow for you to overcome them and participate in that shit on the upside freely, unless your life is already designed like that, or unless you hit a lick, or unless you come up on a fortune. In the same ways, neoliberalism is not designed. It's designed to allow for various ventricles of privatization, for you to find ways to contribute to the capitalist system, and for you to feel like you're doing something individually and beneficial for yourself, but to only be streamlining all of that effort and all that energy into building up the empire, right? This is why neoliberalism is kind of so dangerous, because it'll have you thinking you're doing some real cool shit by yourself, and whole time. This is the difference between the grant and the loan. A grant is take that money, do what you feel like is best with it. You qualify for it, you earn it, you eligible for it, you do it. A loan is you hamstrung. Because the second you violate, the second you don't pay back, the second you late, the second your ass is mine and your ass is grass. And so it's configured into a fuck system, but it's more than what you had, and it gives you a chance to at least people pay off loans. People have thriving businesses. People develop entrepreneurship opportunities that leave them okay.
And that's my reluctance. Like, I really look at this and see a lot of issues. But it's not the same. This is why I say the criticism got to be specific, because it's not the same issues of it's not reparations. You know what I'm saying? Even one article that I read that was critiquing it said it was racist because it equated the legalization of recreational marijuana with black people. Like black people must really like marijuana. It's like, no, the I guess the ideology behind it is to decriminalize things that that institutions use to overly criminalize, you know what I'm saying, black and brown people type shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, we get it, you feel me? But the idea that's gonna open up the market for black people, it's like, yeah, you can't make them protections. When them markets when that shit get opened up, it's still a lot of barriers that exist in those spaces outside of
red tape.
And at the same time, can we not look past the fact that this is a presidential candidate for that's actually advocating for the legalization of marijuana federally? Like, that's because I say, like, that's pretty I mean, I want to say pretty. It's out there. I won't go as far as to say radical.
It's out there. It's right. It is no, but it is radical, because the best that you can get out of the best that you can get out of most presidential candidates has been a gesture toward and an acknowledgement of the way that marijuana laws disproportionately apply to some people, but it's been left up to states' rights. They'll still rely on federalism. They'll still say that the states have the right to choose and determine how they want to go about that. If they want to decriminalize, if they want to have medicinal standards, if they want to go full recreational, if it's just, we're not going to open dispensaries or have dispensaries, but if you have it, we ain't going to trip. Like, it's a whole lot of different levels and layers to that shit. So for a federal institution and somebody to lead that federal institution to say, for everybody, do it because it ain't hurting as many people as they said, the myths around it are wrong, the science around it is wrong, it needs to be declassified, it should be available. That's radical. That's fucking radical.
Okay, but again, this is the natural apprehension that we've developed when it comes to Democratic candidates, when it comes to liberals. You know what I'm saying? We don't ever want to give them too much credit. You feel me? And I think we're in a weird place with Kamala where it's like, as much as we don't want to give them too much credit, like, niggas is still taking away. You know what I mean? Taking away from a lot of the credit that is kind of there, that's deserved. You feel me? Like,
and that's what I think. I mean, rightfully so. Just the skepticism and being like, this shit not so, like, yeah, we all bracing ourselves and holding ourselves back and not trying to admit shit and say it out loud. And so I get it. But your ballot is quiet. It's silent. You go in there with bang and you do.
No, I mean, I've already said it. Like, I didn't ruin my own principle. I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Like, I voted for it for senator. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna vote for it for president. And I'm like proud enough to say, like, it's primarily because, like, my enthusiasm is primarily because we cannot have another Trump presidency. I don't give a fuck. Like, it's just we like what we know, and this is you know how we didn't already looked at all the data about, you know what I'm saying, the dangerous white people, the Trump effect, and all of that. I think it was one story that I'm looking into that I got to read more up on, where again they highlighting all the different arrests that are arrests associated with violence that are explicitly linked to Trump conversations. You know what I'm saying? I've even presented information about how, like, just hearing Trump's name triggers something in people's brain to where they're more xenophobic, they more bigoted. You know what I'm saying? Just by hearing his name. No bullshit. Look into them. If y'all look into them studies on the Trump effect.
I'm a comp scholar. I would love, that's a little bit of psychology and a little bit of comp studies mixed together when you start talking about the kind of innate responses people start to have to certain things, but also how we communicate those things, how we communicated and made his name so laden with such other interpretations and connections. Like, that shit is fascinating to me. Yeah. So I want to acknowledge really, really quick in the comments. Yeah. Devastating for You was in the mix. KJ in the mix. One agrees with me, one disagrees, and I think it's all valid. So Devastating for You says, yeah, that's radical in terms of legalizing marijuana and making it recreational. Yeah, that's radical for a presidential candidate. Mainstream, that's mainstream, and that's mainstreaming it. I'm thinking, and weed is still not mainstream. Like, it's not, as much as it's kind of cool, it's still not overwhelmingly socially palatable yet. And so for a presidential candidate to be about that shit is kind of out there. But KJ says not so fast.
And we kind of like that kind of gets brushed under the rug. Like, It's literally legalizing marijuana. A president saying this. Go ahead.
But KJ says not so fast. Much respect. Haven't been here in a while. I can't say it's radical. I'm sorry. I can't give any presidential candidate credit while we still have people like Mumia locked up. And I think that's the tension.
Yeah.
That's an example of the tension that we have when it's like we can look at something and be like, that's cute. That's real cute. But our political prisoners are still, you know what I'm saying? Like we've lost so many people. Like I think I seen a post the other day celebrating the fact that Bobby Steele is still alive. But that only reminded me of how many Black Panthers died. You know what I'm saying? Like Ali, you know what I mean? So it's kind of weird to take both of those things in tension and really kind of make some sense out of being celebratory about these gestures when real niggas is still behind bars for just trying to fight for us in the first place.
What it is it's like that revolutionary ethic clashing with like material pragmatism.
Yeah.
Like we, you know what I'm saying? We've developed this ethic through the way that we've, you know what I'm saying, come to understand the world and through the teachings of people like Malcolm X and the Black Panthers and Kwame Ture and, you know what I'm saying, Angela Davis, like just all the people that kind of helped us understand from a worse situation. Yeah. You feel me? From a much worse situation. Kind of helped us shape how we see the world today. But again, through neoliberal practices and through the way that whiteness has the ability to reshape and reform and look completely different, like that revolutionary ethic gets stalled because it's like, hey, a little progress. Yeah. You call Kamala radical, we can get a little bit of progress. You know what I'm saying? We legalize weed, right? Maybe y'all can get some dispensaries. And because that brings me to my next question. Can it be seen as pandering? Like this late in the game, you know what I mean? It's after they already started kind of poking the bear a little bit. Then it's like the niggas didn't respond well to the bear being poked, and then now we gotta, you know what I'm saying? So can it be looked at as pandering? Would that be nitpicky?
It's fuck. I don't think that gets too far for me at all. I think Kamala Harris has had a minimal amount of time to figure out who's with her and who is the biggest barrier and obstacle to her overcoming some shit. She's had, been forced to talk to specific people and have specific conversations about things. She's been forced at the NABJ to, talk about the question her Black. Like it's a lot of big questions she's had to answer and a lot of tall shit she didn't have to step up to and try to jump over. And I think this is just realistic and responsive. I don't think it's pandering. And I think we got to be careful and mindful of that shit because the same person in the same breath out one side of their mouth will say parent and the other people will say, where am I at? Why are you not talking about me? And so I think we need to have a more collective conversation about what the fine lines are. Hot sauce in my bag swag is, or whatever. No, she didn't say that was a Beyonce line, but Hillary said hot sauce in my bag. Like that's weird. Talking to Black women as talking to Black men as a Black woman, not weird. But then that begs the question of is she a Black woman, which takes us in a direction.
That doesn't beg that. Yeah, I was gonna say that don't beg that question here. That is not. Yeah, we don't beg that question here.
So no, it's not pandering.
Okay, I mean, I think again, I just run into it's because I'm a vote, like I said, I'm a vote shaming ass nigga. Like I'm voting for Kamala Harris and niggas that's voting for Donald Trump. Like y'all dumb as hell. Like y'all just it's completely anti-Black. But at the same time, it's the difficulty is having to address. Like I think a lot of this becomes dangerous when, again, like we look at things like, are we actually being impactful? Like, will legalizing recreational marijuana actually impact how the criminal justice systems operate when it come to niggas in the first place? Especially when we able to recognize, and I have to do, but we got to do this. You know what I'm saying? We have to give the be real as leftists about, I'm glad she's doing it, yes. But be real about where these kind of things go. And like, as interesting as it is to hear her talk about legalizing marijuana, I think that creates new areas where things become criminalized for people that fit the description of criminal within our criminal justice system. Like we've said on the Chop Up plenty of times, it's not actions that are criminalized, it's people. You feel me? And so because my first criticism was I don't see anything specific about the criminal justice system. But then when you look at each thing, you can see where these things will actually help reduce crime. right?
Yeah.
Education, training, mentorship programs help reduce crime. You feel me? Making the, I mean, you never getting rid of the drug market. Like it's gonna be niggas that's gonna sell weed. Like you're not getting rid of that. But it creates investment opportunities for niggas that have
It
that type of
does, and
shit.
the thing about black markets existing is wherever there's a black market, there's a potential for crime. It doesn't matter what it's a black market for. You know what I'm saying? So the chance for people to either consume that shit legally, go buy it legally, go sell it legally, go any of it is a way to decrease crime. Because the thing is, the crimes that exist are often not drug-based crimes. When you look at crimes connected to the drugs, it's niggas getting robbed, it's niggas getting shot, it's niggas getting whatever. It's whole gang wars that stem from a drug accident, but now have transcended that and turned into all-out war, all because a drug deal went wrong. And so when you look at all of the ways that, you know what I'm saying, just not having weed legally available to use and to get into business for yourself, it's gonna be a problem, and crime is eradicated there. When you think about, I think that again, the cryptocurrency, I just don't know enough about it for it to be like, niggas needed that.
Niggas fucked with, like I know a lot of niggas that fuck with
Shout
crypto.
out to my nigga Ben.
My nigga Ben, my nigga Ben,
Raul. You know what I'm saying? Like they both talk you up and down about the shit, but them is the only niggas I know really trying to get in to that market. But I love that things will make it easier for them to thrive and survive in it. If that's the case, let me hold $1. When I call them for $1, I know they're gonna have it because they in that crypto.
Exactly. So as we start to kind of wrap this up, you know what I'm saying? I know it's a Friday. And I'm glad that y'all joined us for sure. KJ ain't been here in a minute. Good to see him. Dev in the building. Andrea. Oh, I gotta give Andrea credit because she answered a question perfectly that we should have knew, that we knew the answer to. The distinction between how you like where misogyny exists when there's somebody that's willing to vote for Jill Stein and not vote for Kamala Harris. Misogynor. So the more specific form, of misogyny, that exists. So shout out to Andrea for that tidbit, because that was a great little addition, because that does answer that question, and we know that. Yeah,
the hate toward women gets very specific. Sometimes you just hate black women. You just can't stand it. Just is disgusting to you. That is misogynoir.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll say, then I'll pass it off for you, Toy. You can close it out. Is I think that what we have to recognize, and this is apprehension I wanted to mention earlier, is that when the media start facilitating certain types of conversations, we should already be apprehensive. Yeah, I mean, I think we've started to give the media way too much credibility because of how much we against Donald Trump. You know what I mean? And it baffles me that with 80% of black people supporting Kamala Harris, or specifically black men supporting Kamala Harris, that we would feel that it's necessary to be like, hey, y'all niggas need to get in line. Cause just like you mentioned earlier, the greater threat to Kamala Harris is white women. If white women don't show up for Kamala Harris, she has problems, because she's already got problems with Muslims because of Palestine. Already got problems with other liberal groups because of Palestine. Got problems with Gen X because of Palestine. You know what I mean? And that's just the tip of the, you know what I'm saying, iceberg, with all the other Biden era policies that niggas kind of looked at and was like, they did some good. Definitely, can't deny, much better than Trump's presidencies and Trump's policies for sure. But Trump should not be the baseline at all. Being better than Trump is not saying a lot. Yeah. You know what I mean? The
ceiling is in the basement.
You feel me? We have to be able to recognize that we have to stay out of these polarizing cable news conversations, because the shit sells headlines. You know what I mean? And black and painting black people in the fucked up whether black men or black women, sells headlines. It gets news. You know what I'm saying? Remember when they was blaming us after Hillary Clinton lost? Y'all got us fucked up.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't looking at these damn suburbs. You feel me? So my man Psycho showed up. The Psycho showed up late. But we about to close it out though, Psycho. Go ahead, listen to the playback though. I know you'll find a lot of it interesting. Psycho is one of them Jill Stein voters. Yeah.
Let's see. KJ said it's like 90 unless I'm wrong, but true plug. White women and white men vote for Trump more than anyone, whereas black people vote Dem at the highest ratio. Get at white folks, right? Stay
Thank you.
focused.
Thank you.
This infighting is unnecessary. And bottom line, like, have your opinion. I don't want to say this if infighting is unnecessary without going back and doubling down on this opinion that we share, which is that, of course, if you disagree, you have the right to dissent. This is the type of society that we are working to actualize, a democratic society. I'm putting air quotes around that shit because who knows if ever we'll get there. We've never seen it, but we trying some shit out. So part of one of those features is you having feelings of dissent and expressing that shit. The thing is, you don't have to vote for the other guy just because you disagree. That is the moral of this story. You can have your perspective, black man. You can feel strongly that this is a direction in the wrong way. You can disagree in the priorities that I have as a black woman, as a woman, as a citizen in this country. Fair game. But you don't have to vote for Donald Trump. I just really want to dispel that. And by the way, why you not
my nigga, don't vote. Just don't vote.
Yeah, I mean, don't. But wait. Because no.
Okay.
Vote locally. Get on the internet and beat the drum about your sheriff. Beat it about your prosecutor. Beat it about your city council people. Beat it about your alder person. Do shit that matter. If you really want to have a seat at this table, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm ashamed too, but the state of California, they release these little booklets that show you all the candidates and what their positions is and what they run for and what they believe in. And I'm going to thumb through that bitch. I got my ballot right here at the house. I live in a state where they send it to me. So I'm going to fill out my ballot based on the research I'm doing in real time.
Yeah.
Figure out who running for what and take a state there, take a position there. Because a lot of the times the president and what they do, these black initiatives, you might never have nobody knocking your door and say, hey, black man, you want to get tested? Kamala sent me. Remember those initiatives? It's time to lock in. You might not never get that knock on your door. You know what I'm saying? So this might not never trickle down to impact your real life, which often happens when we talk about political decisions. A lot of this shit never come true. These are political promises. These are points that they running off of. It's all types of shit that hold up this. You know what I'm saying? We still got to figure out what these down ballot races gonna look like to make sure that it's a House and a Senate that can support a lot of these ideas.
Regardless of who,
So if you saying fuck her and we gonna see what she's talking about, I'm not buying that. Vote for the other people that really, from the bottom up, really create a pathway for some of the things that niggas is talking about to be actualized, or in future terms, somebody you like and would agree with to have the space, to have the support to be able to slide in and run in a ballot in 2 years or in 4 years that do reflect a little bit more of what you like. It's a game. That's a piece and patchwork type of game. It's a process. And if you don't want to participate, that makes sense. Just don't do nothing to undermine and to get in the way. Bullshit. Like, it's okay to disagree, to not participate.
Because to reiterate, like, I have heavy criticism of Kamala Harris. Like, I feel like I did a good job of keeping it balanced in this conversation. You know what I mean? Because most people don't even understand the overall criticism of capitalism to understand why neoliberalism is a bad thing in the first place. You feel me? I think you did a great job of breaking it down. You know what I mean? But most people ain't gonna recognize that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so what I never want to turn it into is that my criticism of Kamala Harris and Democrats is so important that I'm giving ammo to people who fuck with Donald Trump. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, no.
I'm not, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, even with my criticism of her, my criticism of him is 10 times worse. Speaking of, before we head out, I'm gonna just drop this little election news. Is that early voting numbers have been showing, like, niggas been hitting record numbers in places like Georgia and Pennsylvania. And with the way that Joe Biden won Georgia in 2020, they saying that the early voting numbers is even higher in Georgia for this election than it was in 2020 for the early voting days so far. So I'm telling y'all, I really think the reason why most people think Donald Trump has the capacity to win this election is the loud people who sit on the internet and don't vote. Donald Trump has a large fan base. All of that fan base are not voters. And we're gonna see. But with that being said, appreciate everybody for joining. KJ,
even if you wasn't joining. Oh, go ahead. Holler at KJ.
KJ, Andrea, Emmanuel, Psycho, Miss Ma'am, Dev, Tyler, everybody that pulled up, man.
The family.
We appreciate y'all, Marcel, everybody that showed love. Again, I'm sorry, y'all. We gonna try to keep it on track, but your boy is in grad school right now, and this shit is no joke. So please be patient with us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you listen to this show not live but after the fact and you want to show us some love, Melodious, this go to you, Golf XD, you know what I'm saying? Like Galaxy Golf XD, my bad. Shoot, we actually had Tori J in here in real time, but sometimes they'll catch it in the, after the fact. But if you one of the people who watching and catching us, say what's up in the comments on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Say what's up on the Apple Podcast. Leave a comment and let us know this 2024 in November you've been rocking with the Chop Up. Or no, it's October 2024. But let us know you've been rocking with the Chop Up and that you rocking with the EPs. Anytime you can make your voice heard, do that. Again, if you didn't share the EP, go ahead and share it. We're not even asking for a caption. Just hit share, send it to your favorite platform, and just let people just look into the title and decide if they want to listen in. But we're trying to grow this thing. 2025 is coming. We excited about how we've been growing it this year. And we got a lot of love for y'all because we grow it because of you. On your way out, hit a thumb. Make sure you pop back up and stay tuned. Hit that bell so you know when we back on you because we trying to stay normal, but it's not perfect. So stay connected any way you can. Stay connected any way you can. That's all I got. Plug, take us out.
Yeah, we out. We appreciate y'all, man. We're gonna see y'all next time. It's the Chop Up. Peace. Oh man.